and we're getting straight back into the whole thing with a really big subject: discovering and defining the true self, which is a life's work, really. It's something that never really stops, and it's an opportunity to state straight away that the important thing about all of this work is practicing. We discussed it in one of the seminars, and some people think that this this kind of work, if you read enough books, it just happens, and those kind of people will also get frustrated when it doesn't happen. But it's like anything. If you want to master anything, you have to practice, and you have to practice every day. And some of the things that we'll be talking about are possible to practice in every situation. We'll be talking about just going inside, away from the surface level of life, going to that place. We've done it in the meditations in previous workshops, where you just let go of everything, just drop everything, and there's that place in you that is quiet and peaceful and strong as well. And that's always there. And that's a part of the true self. But first of all, let's have a look at the surface level stuff. So before I carry on, let me just ask you one question, and I'll give you just a minute or so just to think about it. You don't need to give me any answers, but we'll discuss it after I've given you a minute. So think about the answer to the question, who are you? We're talking about, the title of the whole evening is Discovering and Defining Your True Self, which is a little bit misleading, because what I actually mean is the discovery of your true self is the stuff on the inside, the stuff at the depths of who you are. Defining your true self, that's an opportunity for you to put out into the world whoever you want to be. So we're talking about, again, at the surface level, where we interact with the world, where we interact with each other, there's all these definitions, which again, help us to work out a little bit who we're dealing with, who we are as well. But it's such a thin layer, and it's moving beyond that thin layer of conditioning is similar to the process we go to when we declutter our house or our apartment. And again, that's quite a common thing these days. It's all the rage in certain areas of life. I've got a good friend of mine who he loves getting rid of his stuff. Over the last 2, 3, 4 years, he's just got rid of so much stuff, and he feels free. And again, it's the same thing. If we lose some of our conditioning, some of the things that we're hanging on to, we can feel free. So in order to make it easier for ourselves, this way of seeing it as decluttering, because it's the same process, and it's like everything else, the first few steps are the most difficult, because it does feel so overwhelming. And again, all the time I'm talking about decluttering your house, think about shedding this conditioning that we've picked up along the way. Think about your own personal development. So we're faced with this mountain of stuff, we don't know where to start, so we don't do it. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll go for a walk. I'll do anything else, but I'm not going to. Monday. I'll start Monday. And then when you eventually do start, and you just take it step by step, slowly, that's the best way to do it. Build up some momentum. The exponential curve that I've talked about in the past, the beginning of everything. It's difficult. It's slow. Progress is almost not noticeable. But then you hit that curve where everything gets a little bit more productive, let's say. But when we've got into some sort of rhythm, we soon meet that second obstacle, which is our attachment to things. We pick up things that we want to throw away. Oh, then no, I'll keep that because, yeah, that means something to me. Okay, put that on the pile. And then you'll come across things, oh, I didn't even realize I had that. Oh, I'll keep that. No, hold on a minute. You didn't even realize you had it. Why are you going to keep it? So, you built up some momentum. You're dealing with the attachment. That's becoming more and more clear to you, that you are attached to certain things. But you also start to experience that freedom of getting rid of things. And you get to the point at some stage where you become almost reckless. You're just throwing things away without even thinking about it, simply because of that feeling that it gives you of liberation, of freedom, of being light and unburdened by things. When you're done, if you take it to the extreme and you just throw everything away, you're left in an empty house. There's nothing there. All there is potential, infinite potential. You can do with it what you like. It's exactly the same with who we are. We can get rid of, it's more difficult obviously, but it's still possible. We can get rid of stuff that doesn't serve us. It's a word that I use very often. It doesn't serve me to be like this. So I need to get rid of it. Now when I'm getting rid of stuff in my house, I just open the bin, throw it away and it's gone. It's not quite the same when you're getting rid of some of the things, the habits that you've picked up, because they'll just come back and back and back. Again, that's where the practice comes in. It's literally just a case of practicing every single time. Another thing that I learned is it used to be very easy for me to panic and try and make things right again. When actually there's no point in me doing stuff in panic, because I'll probably make things worse. And then the panic gets worse, and then I get desperate, and I have a meltdown. It was never that bad, but that's the road I would go down. Whereas if you just stop and relax, calm down, you've got 30 seconds. The world's not going to end. And that 30 seconds where you can get some peace of mind, you're able to think more clearly. So yeah, the observation of the situation and being entertained by it as well. You can also do that with yourself. And that brings us on nicely to the true self, because just like when we declutter our house and we're left, if we go to the extreme, with an empty house, but infinite potential, we can do anything we like with it. It's the same with ourselves. If we strip away everything, it seems like it's empty, but it isn't. First of all, there's that infinite potential. And secondly, there's a part of you which is able to observe the emptiness, to observe the potential. And that's the true self that I'm talking about. It's literally just awareness of the situation, of the world, of the empty house, of yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, all that surface level stuff, your identity. Again, we identify ourselves with our jobs. We ask other people about theirs so that we can pigeonhole them. But we also identify ourselves with our thoughts, our feelings, the way we behave. But we can just as easily get back into that quiet part of us and observe our thoughts, observe our feelings as well. And that's the true self. And it's, again, a lot of us lead busy lives, not me so much, but a lot of people have busy lives and they don't have that time to reflect, time away from the chaos or the stimulation. And again, when you go into the world and you're stimulated by what's going on around you, it's very easy just to follow those stimuli and interact or react with your world. But when you draw yourself back away from the people into a quiet space for yourself at home at the end of the night or in the morning, especially when you go into meditation, then you can be with yourself. You can observe those things. You can also reflect on the day. You can reflect on all the stimuli and the chaos and what was going on. You can reflect on your responses to the world. You can make sense of it, because when you're in it, you're reacting. You're dealing with the world in front of you. But when you get away and get some space and get some distance from the world, you start to see things more clearly. And again, that's a practice. Just doing that. Because you're dealing with the stuff at the surface level. And this is, before I forget, we're talking about these two aspects of who we are. So the surface level stuff and the stuff in the depths of who we are. Neither one can be jettisoned. We need both. We live in this world. So we have to interact in this world. Very often in my past, I would say, I don't want to be a part of this world. I just want to do my stuff and not have to interact with it. And my teacher would say, no, you have to be in the world. You live here. You're born here. You came into existence in this world. So you can't turn your back on it. You'll go crazy otherwise. You might as well live in this world. You might as well interact at that surface level. But if you do so with a level of awareness that nothing matters really at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. Life goes on, and life will go on after we've gone. In the big scheme of things, nothing we do in this lifetime matters really at that surface level, at that worldly level. But as far as I'm concerned, at that deep level, it does matter. Because that does go on after we've gone. That's worthy of our attention. By the time we get to a decent age, we've already been conditioned by the world to an extent that it takes a lot of work to unravel it. And again, I'm not saying we need to get rid of everything, but with a level of awareness, you can begin to see what's happened and the baggage that you've picked up, just like the stuff at home. When you dig through those drawers and you realise, where's this? I didn't even know I had this. Where's this? Is this yours? No, that's yours. Your grandma gave it to you. We've accumulated so much stuff. There is always a part of you from where you can observe the rest of who you are, those thoughts, those feelings. And it's a gentle place, it's a peaceful place, it's a haven. And it's pure awareness, that's all it is. It's that awareness of who you are at that surface level. So when you go out into the world and you do your stuff, that's fine. But you're always taking with you that part of you that is able to observe what's going on. Now, when we're interacting with the world, like you were saying, there's so much going on, we're just reacting, we're responding, we don't have the opportunity, or we have the opportunity, but we don't take the time to think about or get in touch with that part of us that is observing everything. We'll do it at night when we're on our own. But we can also, with practice, begin to do it throughout the day. And it's a peaceful place. I've not been in the best of moods today, so I just practice that and say, look, I'm not going to try and pretend to be in a good mood, but I can observe from that quiet place this particular mood that I'm in. And I know that it's not going to last forever. It never does. Nothing does. You said it yourself. Nothing ever does. And as much as most of us hate change, it can actually be a source of solace for us. Because one of the things that I've noticed about when I'm feeling low is that feeling that it's going to go on forever. That's the worst part of it. it feels like it's going to be there forever. And it's strange because the happy times, you know they're going to come to an end, but the sad times feel as though they're going to go on forever. I don't know quite why that is, but it doesn't seem particularly fair to me. However, when you understand that the sad times will come to an end as well, you can relax a little bit. It's not going to cheer you up, but from that quiet place of pure awareness, you can observe yourself being sad, which means that you're not the sadness. You, the pure awareness aspect of who you are, is just observing the sadness. The sadness is on the surface level of thoughts, level of feelings. But deep inside, there's that aspect of you that can observe. And when you catch yourself being able to do that, then it makes life a lot easier, I think. Again, that's a process that we go through. First of all, at the very beginning of this whole habitual behaviour, we don't even know we do it. And then somebody might point out, hey, every time you get annoyed, do you realise? So somebody will draw your attention, or you'll eventually see it. And then the next step is, you're going to put procedures in place, or you're going to try and prepare yourself for the next time it's likely to happen. But that's not really going to make a huge difference, but it is a step further. And this is all it is. It's just baby steps every single time. So even though you get caught when you didn't want to, you're still a step further along the line, because you said to yourself, I'm not going to. I'm aware enough to know that this might happen, probably will happen, but I don't want it to happen. It does. And the next time you're even more prepared. You go, okay, well I tried last time but it didn't work. I didn't hang on for even 5 seconds. So I'm going to hang on for 30 seconds this time. And you do. Again, progress. And the more progress you make, the more insight you're going to get as to what triggers you, why you lose your temper. And you may see it in that particular situation, you may see it at the end of the day when you reflect, you may see it in a completely different situation. But the important point is you're going into these situations with your eyes open. You're going in with a level of awareness that is going to eventually unlock all the secrets for you. And then your life just gets easier. It's not perfect, but that's huge progress. Especially when you compare it to people who don't wake up, who don't have that level of awareness about how they behave. And again, we can tell them because we think we're helping them, but they'll probably just get mad at us. Leave me alone. Go and sort out your own stuff. I'm only trying to help. Leave them. Unless they say, listen, I always end up with this situation. Any comment, any input? Well, yeah, I have observed. Every time you do this, this happens. So you can help them then. So eventually you'll find the answer. And it's awareness. And I talked all along in the first seminars about how important it is to become aware of who we are, aware of our behaviour, aware of our habits. And that awareness is the stuff that's on the inside looking out. And you can go there every time and be entertained. Just like you're entertained with your kids or with your colleagues when they lose their temper. You can sit back in your chair at work and go, oh, it's happening again. She never likes this, or he always does this. Why can't you be just as entertained by your own anger? You might as well be. There's no point getting annoyed by your own anger, or getting further down by your sadness. I mean, my girlfriend, she doesn't know what to do with herself sometimes when I'm like this, but she knows enough to go, I'll leave him alone. He'll be fine. And that's it. Otherwise, if she tries to pull me out of it, because it makes her uncomfortable, I'm going to get more annoyed, the whole thing will escalate, and everybody's going to be miserable. And it's just a case of, listen, this is how I am on seminar day. I get a bit nervous. I tend to withdraw. I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's just the way it is. Okay, great, see you later. And again, there are certain elements of us, we're powerless, we feel powerless to do anything about it. I'd love to be in a good mood all day long. It's not going to happen though. That's not how this life works. But when I get sad, there's no point getting too sad about it. Because there's a part of me on the inside, that pure awareness aspect of our existence, that never gets sad. So why don't I just reside with that for a while? And I'll watch the surface level sadness, and I'll know that one day, soon, it will go. And it will come back again, because again, that's life. It's up and down, up and, yeah, absolutely. Put it this way, if you're right next to two people who are having a screaming argument, then you're involved, even though it's nothing to do with you, you're not even involved in the argument, it's not even about you, they just happen to be right in front of your face. So you're affected by it. You can't not be affected by it. But if you go and sit in the corner of the room, you can observe that argument from a distance, and that distance gives you enough space to be less affected by it. And if you go outside of the building and look through the window at the same argument, you feel even calmer, even more removed. And that's the witness in each and every one of us. So we're able to observe our emotions, observe our feelings, and observe our thoughts without interacting with them, without making them wrong, without getting too excited or too sad about the way we are. And the more we practice that, the more we cultivate that aspect of us, the more available it is to us when we need it, the more accessible it becomes, the easier it is to go there. And then you find yourself doing it more and more, and it becomes more automatic, so that you're observing yourself without even trying, which means you're at that peaceful place all the time. When you know the way the world works, it's a lot easier just to go to that place inside yourself where you can observe, where you can become aware of what's going on. Does that make sense? There's that element of separateness that we carry with us in the world. We think we're all separate, when actually we're all connected. And this is the crux of this story. So I was watching an interview with a guy who was talking about consciousness, and there was an audience of about 70 people in the room, and he was being interviewed by somebody who didn't quite get what he was saying. And he was saying that, we're all one, we're all part of the same consciousness. And she said, can you explain a little bit more about that? And he said, okay, so at the worldly level, this surface level, this level of individuals and the way the world works and pigeonholing, at the worldly level, you will say that we're all sitting in this one room and there are 70 different consciousnesses perceiving this one room. That's how we normally look at it. He said, what I'm saying is there's one consciousness and 70 different rooms. And that's mind-blowing for me, because that describes exactly how it is when you listen to these people talk about the fact that we are just all from one consciousness, creating our own realities as we go through life. So again, the one person that annoys me but doesn't annoy you, we have a different take on that person. We have a different reality in the presence of that person. I don't like him, but you do. It's the same person, but we have a different outlook. So we all have these different realities. So what is real? We're getting a bit too philosophical here, but at the end of the day, the conclusion is that nothing is real apart from that part of you deep inside at the soul level. Consciousness, awareness. That's all that exists at the end of the day. Everything else is just born out of that, really. So there's no point getting dragged down by emotions and thoughts. Just go to that place and be entertained by it. Be entertained by who you are. Don't give yourself a hard time. And that's the second part of this subject. So discovering and defining the true self. Again, the true self is that part of awareness, that part of us that is pure awareness. And then from there, whilst we're being entertained by the surface level stuff, we can start to define who we want to be in more detail. Because we're observing, because we're more aware of who we are, we can start to shift things towards who we'd like to become. Without fully understanding or seeing clearly who you are, there's nothing you can do about it. But what we're saying now is, not only will that awareness help you with sorting yourself out, it's also a place to go to when things get a little bit too choppy on the surface. Same as when you're during the summer holidays, when you're at the swimming pool or at the beach and you're in the sea and all the kids are in there, there's all sorts of things going on, it's loud, it's choppy. As soon as you dive underwater, all that noise disappears. It's peaceful, it's quiet. Then you come up again and there's that noise, there's that chaos, there's all that stuff on the surface. That's again how the true self is. There's such a depth to who we are. There's so much depth to every one of us. And the further you go into yourself, the more you realize that we're all connected to each other. When we talk about helping other people, the best way you can help other people is to help yourself. It's the oxygen masks on aeroplanes again. Don't put anybody else's on until you've got yours on. Look after yourself first. And as soon as you know that you're connected at a deeper level with everything that exists, it's a lot easier to do that, because some people think it's selfish to look after yourself. And it isn't. Far from it. All those people, like I say, that embody those qualities that I look up to, all talk about the same thing. And it's the fact that we are all one, that we are pure awareness, that love is really all that matters. And those people also practice it on a daily basis. And it just, there's no getting away from the level of practice necessary to turn our lives around. But that's all it takes. Daily practice, daily awareness. You don't have to get up at 4 in the morning and sit on your cushion and think about compassion for 2 hours. But throughout the day, you can do it. Throughout the day, you can just pull yourself to one side and tell yourself how loving you are and how compassionate you are and how everything's okay. And cultivating that part of you on the inside, that awareness, that pure awareness that is who you truly are. All this surface level stuff, it's fun, but it's meaningless compared to the depth of who you are. And from that point of pure awareness, you can observe everything that's going on. You can be entertained by everything that's going on. And you can start to create whoever you want to be.